cornered by this Afro think tank. White man says America has always been the terrorist. And I'm going to have to agree. America is actually the terrorist. And if you look up the definition of terrorism, because we just use the word gets used so often. Everybody's brown gets blanket with if you're a Muslim and you're brown skin, you're a terrorist. If you're black, you're a criminal. If you're Native American, you're a savage, and everybody else are just inconsequential, right? But in fact, the Europeans have always been the terrorists. Think about this. I just want you to think about this. Vikings, right? What are they famous for? They're famous for going to a place and committing murder, death, and destruction in order to take and steal resources, correct? Right? And Europeans are proud of that history, right? What is Britain famous for? Britain's famous for going to other people's countries, murder, raping, killing, and pillaging, and stealing other people's stuff, right? That's what they're famous for, right? What are the French famous for? Exactly the same thing. Which are Europeans famous for? What is America, which is the combination of all European death, murder, and destruction accomplishments, all amalgamated into America? What does America do? America imposes its political will on all other nations of the world in order to reap the benefits and terrorizes them if they don't capitulate by bombing them. Think about it. We bomb and kill millions upon millions of people, and we act like it's a normal thing, like it's just something that it's okay for countries to do, even though there are other countries kind of doing their own bad evil thing on smaller scales. But nobody compares to what America does. America could just bomb anything, kill innocent people, and it's no problem. And when we sponsor terrorism, we're the state sponsor that we sponsor a whole country called Israel, right, which can attack any country, attack all sovereign nations, attack all heads of state, right? Commit all manners of crimes that if any other group of people did, we would call them terrorists. But because it's white people doing it, it's not terrorism. Notice they don't like to call white people terrorists, right? But they are in fact the terrorists. We are the Death Star, right? And even though you and Americans are particularly not terrorists, right? It's the apparatus, the people in control who are the terrorists. Real terrorists wear suits, right? Real terrorists wear Armani suits and fancy suits and drive expensive cars, and they have free health care, right? Free dental, free medical, and they get a free government check every month, and they'll be taken care of for the rest of their life utilizing socialistic programs that they don't want anybody else to get. Think about that. But anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna allow you to listen to this guy say just as much. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
We are the terrorists. America, Britain, and Israel. Okay, weapons of mass destruction, Iraq. 2 million dead. That was a lie.
So you were a terrorist. You were a Marine.
We have Madeleine Albright, former Secretary of State of the United States, who said, quote, 500,000 dead children was, quote, worth it. That's terrorism.
So you were a terrorist.
The United States has dropped Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the firebombing of Dresden. We can go on and on. Terrorism, by its legal definition, has not been prosecuted. That's called impunity, and it's because of impunity that we sit here today. And if, by the way, any of those nations which we have bombed and genocided and supplied the weapons to do that decide to come over here, well, what do you reckon? What do you reckon? Would you sit by and do nothing while your country was being bombed, while it was all based on lies, weapons of mass destruction much? No, I would fight. By the way, the Palestinians are an occupied nation. Occupied, which means the occupying nation has a legal obligation. They've cut off air, water, food, in every way. Literally, when you're in a firestorm, there's no air left. You're
selling the idol
under the rubble. This is impunity in the nuclear age. World War III. Best we stop it.
Being subverted, they were being subjugated, and it was really just a Mossad cutout at that point. They installed subcontractors to take on the duties of occupation, and so that the Israelis could wash their hands clean and say, look, we're not really involved, even though they were very intimately involved, and they, that's been spelled out throughout the entire 90s, and that led to the Second Intifada, which began peacefully. It was a peaceful protest against the occupation forces, and guess what happens? According to the Israeli minister at the time who was involved in the Oslo Accords, Shlomo Ben Ami, says that the IDF escalated the situation. There was an authentic Palestinian struggle for self-determination, the Second Intifada I'm talking about.
I'm listening to you.
Misfit, you listening? Okay.
I don't have to look at you.
2000, 2001, the Second Intifada began peacefully. It was a peaceful protest against the occupying force, and the finance minister, Shlomo Ben-Ami, or maybe he was the foreign minister, I forget, he concluded that it began peacefully and it was an authentic Palestinian struggle for self-determination, and it only escalated into an all-out war when the IDF started shooting them down after, maybe a kid was throwing a rock or something, Okay. Because, those rocks are really deadly.
It's a kid that threw the rock.
Yeah. Or maybe it was a sandwich. I don't know.
How many rockets are fired into Israel on average?
You do not claim a moral right if that moral right traces back to an illegal wrong. This is something that the ancient Greeks understood. When they said ex injuria non jus orator, they meant that a legal right cannot be invoked from an illegal wrong. So when you acquire territory and you occupy people, you don't get the right to self-defense in occupied territory. That's not how it works.
It wasn't occupied.
It was occupied.
British mandate. So how far do you want to go back? Because your whole entire argument, everything that you've been saying is a he started it argument. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so who started it and when?
Yeah.
Let's establish that.
Well, it depends.
We could go back to the beginning of time.
We could go back 3,500
No. Biblical rights have no status in the world today. You can't invoke the Bible. We're talking about modern history, dude.
Let's start with modern history. Let's start with the creation of the nation state of Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the UNGA 181 partition plan, which gave Israel the international birth certificate, was itself a declaration of war. I do not. I do not agree with the decision to create the state of Israel.
Okay. So just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it was not created.
We obviously know that the Israelis exist.
Was it created in a legal format? Is it an established nation?
Yes, by the Western European and United States countries. And this is the point, though.
League of Nations.
Even those institutions that gave Israel the international birth certificate in 1948, even those institutions condemn Israel ever since 1967. Okay. That's why my argument goes back to 1967 formally.
But not 1948.
Well, it does for me, yes. It does go back to 1948. In fact, it goes back to 1917. It goes back to the 1890s, ever since Jewish immigration to Palestine by the Zionists started.
Yeah, okay. So let's go.
Theodore Herzl's argument is a might makes right.
Theodore Herzl's vision for a modern state of Israel where Jews have a right to live in peace and exist in that particular location, which wasn't not
his formulation.
It wasn't even really part of the original plan to be.
If you read Theodore Herzl's diary, he makes clear that he knew that they would have to dispossess and spirit the penniless population of the territory to come over to our side after we've dispossessed and taken their lands and resettled it. We're going to give them breadcrumbs to make sure that they're going to be copacetic to the whole situation. But they knew dispossession and depriving of these. The land resources and labor of these indigenous peoples was always part of the plan. That's the formulation of Zionism at the beginning.
Okay, but let's just at least agree on the point that Israel was created, and whether you agree with it or not, it was created. It's a nation, right? And then there was a dispute over
a nation that is. Sorry.
Well, there was this dispute over who gets what. A lot of deals were turned down by the Palestinians, and they were offered this territory and that territory, and they said no, and they started war after war after war after war. And you think all of these wars, right, that have been started by one side, right? It's a very one-sided initiation of conflict. You think all of them are justified because all of its resistance just because of the mere fact that Israel was created.
The truth is that the United States are the world's terrorists. The United States invents terror organizations, and we use those terror organizations as a pretext for us to go in. We were funding al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS in Syria. Why? For a pipeline. That's why. And they didn't want that pipeline built through Syria, and so we decided to say that Assad was killing his own people, and all that. Same thing we said about Iraq, the same thing we said about Saddam Hussein, same thing we said about Muammar Gaddafi, the same thing we say about the Taliban, and for 20 years in Afghanistan, 20 years of lies in Afghanistan, all lies about Libya, all lies about Iraq, and all lies about Syria. And somehow, none of that comes up in this conversation, but he's fear-mongering us about how other countries aren't allowed to control their natural resources, and that's supposed to be the job of the United States and Israel. That is warmongering World War III.
Britain's a terrorist state, America's a terrorist state, and Israel is a terrorist state.
Think that?
This is the reality of it. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Well, it's not a terrorist state, is it?
It's a terrorist state.
Right, come on.
James, you're trying to assault me, James. You're trying to assault me, James.
I'm an old man with cancer.
Well, James, don't, please.
Well, do what I ask and go.
I'm not going to go. And you won't be able to remove me, James, so please don't.
Why? What are you going to do?
I'm making a statement here for Palestine.
A statement of rubbish. Just talking rubbish.
Take your book and go out and support Palestine. I know you want to hit me. I'm not going to hit you,
No,
James.
you're not.
You're absolutely right.
Not at
You're
all.
not.
Not at
You're
all.
quite Hamas with Israel.
You're a
You
silly
say they're
little
the same
man.
thing.
You're a silly little man.
Who is the biggest recruiter of terrorists in the USA? And two, what would you do if you were broke, about to lose your house, and someone offered you $100,000? And that's really, the answer to the first question is, rather surprisingly, the biggest recruiter of terrorists in the States is the FBI. And the answer to the second one gives you the clue as to how our story works. Because the FBI have accidentally, it seems, developed a system which works rather well. And the system is, they make up a terrorist plot, they find someone to try and carry it out, and they arrest them for doing that.
And then get the kudos for having fought the Great War against terrorism.
Well, they get all sorts of things, really. I mean, it's quite complicated, but I guess the essential element of our story is that these people are not terrorists, but the government ends up putting them in jail
for very long
as if they were. Yes, 25, 30 years. And there's a close to 100% conviction rate in these cases. And I wasn't looking for this. I wasn't aware of this. I mean, I think we all sort of have a vague idea that the FBI may be involved in setting people up. But then when you follow the story that I did and you see it close up, it's jaw-dropping.
It's really shocking and very, very hard to believe. And yet the statistics, once you lay them out, are quite extraordinary. I mean, we're talking about 100 incidents of the FBI doing this, 100 known incidents.
More, actually, more. Yes, I mean, I say it's based on 100 true stories. That's a sort of notional 100. It's in the right ballpark. It's more likely 300. But
300 times, the FBI have managed to pin a crime on essentially innocent people who were just part of some casual grouping who they trained to be terrorists and then arrested and jailed.
Yes, if I may take the FBI's side for a second, it sort of works like this. You're freaked out by 9/11. You have to cover yourself because you're implicated in some of the sloppy procedures that led to 9/11. So you talk the threat up. You say there's a sleeper cell in every city, and then you go and find it. Now, you don't know what you're looking for. And classically in the FBI, you talk about other people. You look at brown and black people because they are more likely, you think, to be a problem. And if somebody sticks their head up in one of those communities, then you surround them with false friends, informants, who will offer them money and friendship to try and lure them along a sort of carefully scripted program of self-incrimination, which results in that person going to jail. And you will say to the court as a prosecutor, is it better that this person goes to jail or that we let them go back out on the street? And the juries always say, better put them in jail.
When I look at my own country, the United States, it is a semi-democratic, white-dominated, hierarchical, racist society that aims to preserve privilege by the elites. That's how it was formed in 1787. It was a slave-owning, genocidal country, killing Native Americans for a white culture. But amazingly, it still looks that way, although we're much more diverse now than we were. The most violent country in the world in the 19th century, by far, was perhaps the most democratic or second most democratic, and that was Britain. You can be democratic at home and ruthlessly imperial abroad. The most violent country in the world since 1950 has been the United States. It's been by far involved
Jeffrey,
in more
stop
wars.
now. Jeffrey, I'm Jeffrey, I'm your moderator, and it's enough.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Wait. Before you go, for all my subscribers and philanthropists out there, I'm building a solar power community water bowl system in Nigeria. It's going to cost between $5,000 and $6,000. I'm trying to raise money. If you want to participate and help me build this solar power water system, please donate to the Cash App and put solar water in the notes. Solar water in the notes. I'll put PayPal, Stripe, and Zelle. Anyway, thank you. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.